Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, March 6th. I'm Melissa Wright.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, contaminated water in Prince George's. CTV News first brought you the story of a coal waste dump in Brandywine more than 8 years ago. That's where toxic fly ash could be found blowing across the site and into a neighboring children's park. Last year, the Prince George's District Council unanimously voted to close the site on North Keys Road. But the closure doesn't mean that problems don't persist. In a new report by an environmental watchdog group, the site was declared one of the top 10 worst in the nation for groundwater contamination from coal waste.
Out of hundreds of coal ash waste sites across the country, the 7th ranked worst nationwide sits right here at this Brandywine landfill in Prince George's County, according to a new study by the Environmental Integrity Project. The organization analyzed monitoring data produced by the owners of the sites themselves. The worst news, according to the data, 91% of all U.S. coal-fired power plants are contaminating groundwater with unsafe levels of toxic pollutants.
This report compiles information from all over the country, and it makes clear that the Brandywine facility that has been closed, this disposal facility for coal, actually is on the 10 worst list, basically, in America. It's one of the 10 worst contaminated sites or worst run sites in America for coal waste. It also means that the site, which is under a federal consent decree to clean up its act, even though it's been closed, it still has to remediate the harms there. And we know for a fact, because the company that runs it has disclosed, that they've already contaminated the groundwater, the water that is in the ground. And the water that is in the ground is part of what feeds the well water for people who drink water from wells in the community, in the neighborhood.
The data shows that the Brandywine site and 2 other locations in Maryland have contaminated groundwater with unsafe levels of at least 8 pollutants, including lithium at more than 200 times above safe levels and molybdenum at 100 times higher. Too much lithium can cause diarrhea, seizures, and shaking. Molybdenum can damage the kidney and liver.
We're talking about the exact same carcinogens, heavy metals, and so forth that you'll find as constituents in coal. These are naturally occurring in coal, and that's what ends up eventually in the ground and in the groundwater, and also to the surface water. There are also surface water discharges, in other words, river water, stream water, things of that sort. So it's a site where the contaminants on it are migrating off of it. Your film crew actually showed wind blowing coal waste off of the site. That actually was used in the public proceeding to help revoke the special exception. But water contamination is a whole different vector.
Researchers say they know for sure that nearby aquifers are contaminated but can't determine the safety of drinking water near the coal ash dumps because power companies are not required to test private drinking wells. And many homeowners who do test their wells refuse to make the data public.
Now, that study also says that the contaminated groundwater at this site is now feeding into and polluting local streams. CTV has reached out to the county for its reaction to the potential crisis, and we will bring you that response as soon as we hear back.
A University of Maryland advisory committee held a public hearing this morning. The panel discussed recommendations that were made to the university following the death of football player Jordan McNair. McNair died in June after suffering a heat stroke during a team workout. The football team and university were broadly condemned for their handling of the event. The panel says it has implemented most of the recommendations made to the team and university, including creation of an athletic medical review board that will periodically review policies and implementation.
Education taking center stage at today's Business Roundtable luncheon in Clinton. Interim CEO Dr. Monica Goldson gave the 2019 State of the Education System address at the event. Goldson talked about progress and the challenges ahead, including a new initiative that will partner businesses with schools to help students get ahead.
It's a situation that us being able to have economic development and development here in Prince George's County is directly tied to our education system in a couple of ways. One, providing the workers for those businesses that want to come here, having the skills to be able to move into those positions, and also for those, a lot of times businesses move, where the CEO moves, they want to have a quality education system, and so that's where we get people to come into the county because they want to take advantage of that.
And the Prince George's Roundtable is comprised of, in part, business leaders across Prince George's who employ tens of thousands of residents.
A Maryland House committee is considering a bill to stop patient dumping. The nursing home discharge bill aims to protect seniors from being taken advantage of or neglected. The measure would require nursing homes to have a discharge plan for seniors. It would also mandate that notices be sent out if seniors face involuntary discharge from a facility.
In an effort to make prescription drugs more affordable, Maryland health advocates launch a radio ad campaign this afternoon. They're trying to get the word out about Senate Bill 759. The measure would create a prescription drug affordability board that would establish fair prices across the state. Supporters testified in favor of the measure this afternoon.
The board will be able to say Marylanders will only pay a reasonable amount for high-cost drugs. Other countries do that. That's why people in other countries pay a lot less for prescription drugs than Marylanders do. And the drug companies say they need the money for research, but they spend a lot more on advertising than they do on research. They can do less of that advertising and make these prescriptions more affordable and still do their research.
And Senator Catherine Clausmeyer is the lead sponsor of that bill.